Hello there, my name's Scott. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Fluid Flask, which I received from www.fluidvapor.com. Before I start though, I must point out I did receive it free of charge for the purpose of conducting a review. My opinion of the product remains true, honest and accurate as always. Okay, let's go straight ahead and show you what's in the capsule. Okay, so the Fluid Flask comes in one of these groovy little containers, and inside you're going to find the actual Fluid Flask, which for those who aren't aware is a cartomizer tank. And you're also going to get a certificate of authenticity, a spare set of O-rings, and rather bizarrely they also include one of these Chinese finger traps. Okay, so here we have the main parts that make up the Fluid Flask. You have two end caps, you then have a tank, an outer sleeve, and then sort of like the second part of the top cap with a mouthpiece. The two end caps are made out of food grade stainless steel and appear to be very nicely machined. The tank is made out of a material called e-cig, which to be quite honest I've never heard of, but I'm going to assume it's some form of polycarbonate. This one holds around 2 millilitres of e-liquid, but I believe there is a larger version, the XL version of the Fluid Flask, which can hold 3 millilitres of e-liquid. Now I do have one slight little gripe about the tank, and that it's been very sort of roughly cut. If you look around the edges, you can see it is very sort of rough looking. That all gets hidden up once the actual Fluid Flask is fully assembled, but nevertheless, so you know, it's quite a pricey cartomizer tank, so it could be cut a little bit neater, let's put it that way. The outer sleeve is made from aluminium, but for the benefit of any American viewers, let's call it aluminum. And this is designed to sort of basically be modular, so that means in the future, you know, if you want to change the whole look of your Fluid Flask, then you can just buy a different sort of outer sleeve, because I believe there's going to be sort of different designs coming out in the future. And I also hear that there's going to be a sort of a drop-in module which will turn the Fluid Flask into a Genesis style atomizer as well. And then finally you have the sort of second part of the top cap, and this does have a fixed mouthpiece, so that means you can't use your favourite 510 drip tips unfortunately. And once again, this is made out of food grade stainless steel. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is attach the tank to the bottom of the two end caps, and you can tell that this is the bottom one as it has these threads going around the edge there. Okay, so just take the tank and slide it over the O-rings. For the next step, you need to insert a cartomizer into the base section of the Fluid Flask. Now you can use these sort of standard sized pre-punched cartomizers that have the flange going around the base, or you can also use these standard sized sort of regular bow cartomizers, but you will obviously need to punch a hole in them beforehand. Now for those, or for the benefit of any beginners who've never used a cartomizer tank before, if you're going to put a fresh cartomizer into a cartomizer tank, always make sure you fill the cartomizer up with e-liquid first. Otherwise you're just going to be getting loads of dry hits and a very quickly burnt out cartomizer. So to insert the cartomizer, you just got to press it gently against the O-ring inside there. Give it a little bit of a twist and a rock, and it should slide straight in. Now if you take a look at the actual hole there, the puncture hole, once it's inside the tank, you can't actually see it. So you may be thinking, well, no juice is actually going to get fed from the tank to the cartomizer. But around the base there, you have actually got a nice gap, and juice is getting down there, getting through the little punch hole and inside the cartomizer. No problems at all. I've not had any sort of dry hits, and obviously during the course of the day when you're actually vaping it, you can see your juice diminishing, so you know it's all working correctly. And then once the cartomizer is in place, you can just take the top cap and again push that into the tank. And then you can take the outer sleeve, slide it over the top, and screw it onto the base section. And then once you're at this stage, you can just take your bottle of e-liquid and fill the tank up. And as you can see, going around the outside of the cartomizer, you have got a nice sort of gap there. So you just got to take your bottle, fit the old rubber needle down the side of it, and give it a squeeze. And then to finish off, you just need to attach the mouthpiece. Now going around the inside there, hopefully you can see there's one O-ring, and going around the inside here, hopefully you can see the other O-ring. And so you have this one which is going to grab hold of the cartomizer, and this one which is going to grab hold of the mouthpiece, and that should in theory hold everything together nice and tightly. However though, it doesn't take a massive amount of movement for these two parts to come loose. No, for every sort of general vaping, everyday use, it seems to be sort of holding up perfectly fine. But if you are going to carry it around in your pocket or put it in your bag, I would be quite mindful of it, because it doesn't take a massive amount of sort of rocking for it to actually come apart. Also, when you're putting this mouthpiece on, be very careful and do it very slowly, and also try and note whereabouts the actual hole of the puncture hole is. And because if you push it down sort of too quickly, basically all the juice just floods straight into the cartomizer, and it ends up just sort of leaking out everywhere. Now I know that my puncture hole is around here, so I'm just going to place it into the top and then turn it upside down so no juice is actually near that puncture hole area, and then push it in, and that should hopefully mean nothing's going to start leaking out of it. Okay, so all I need to do now then is attach it to whatever device I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using it on my Pro-Vari here, and that's it. I'm going to have a nice vape. Okay, so that is the Fluid Flask. Let's go ahead and see what it vapes like. Okay, so that was the Fluid Flask, and what I'll do now is go ahead and show you in action. So I'm going to be using it on my mini Pro-Vari, which is currently set at 4 volts. The resistance of the cartomizer is reading 1.5 ohms, and the tank has been filled up with some 18mg strength tobacco flavoured e-liquid, just a PG e-liquid. And as you can see, like vapor-wise, you're getting plenty of vapour, but it's nothing to do with the Fluid Flask as such. It's more to do with what sort of device you're using, what sort of voltage or wattage you're vaping at, the resistance of the cartomizer, whether you're using a PG e-liquid or a VG e-liquid, etc, etc. But nevertheless, with the setup I've got here, getting plenty of vapour. I'll get on to the the sort of build quality, because there's not a great deal else I can sort of really tell you about the performance of it as such. Build quality wise, it's very good quality. Only thing that sort of slightly let it down was the edges of the actual sort of the e-cig tank. But like I said, once you've got it actually all fully assembled, it all gets hidden away. You can't see that anyway, so it's not too much of an issue. But it is quite an expensive cartomizer tank, so ideally it would be nicer to have it nice and smooth around the edges there. But other than that, got no problems with it at all with regards to the older build quality. Top cap is something you do have to be a little bit mindful of, because it is on there solid. I've got the weight of the Pro-Vari and the battery in there as well, and it's not going anywhere. But if I did sort of shake that a bit too much, or if I did start to sort of rock that, it would come out sort of fairly easily. So if you're going to carry it around in your pocket, I would be a little bit mindful of it, because if you start sort of pressing against like the side of your inside leg or anything like that, then it will eventually sort of work its way loose and come out, which could then mean obviously your juice is going to come out with it as well. But it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because it could sort of have the potential of coming out quite easily and causing you a problem, but on the other hand, it's quite handy that it does come out that easily, because it makes filling up the tank very nice and simple and very quick as well. The only thing you have to be mindful of is that when you're filling up the tank, when you go to put the lid back on, put it on sort of halfway, then turn it upside down and then push it all the way in. Otherwise, if you don't do it, then what happens is that the air sort of pressure just forces the juice through the hole in the cartomizer, and obviously that ends up with a little bit of a flood. So just make sure you put it in a fraction of the way, turn it upside down and then push it all the way in, and you shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. No, overall it's a very nice cartomizer tank. It's a little bit different. It's quite cool how you've got these sort of interchangeable sleeves. And like I said, in the future, there's going to be sort of different designs out. So, you know, if you want to sort of change the whole look of it, you know, just get yourself a different sleeve, take this one off and screw the new one on. And it looks like you've got a whole sort of brand new cartomizer tank, basically. And they also said there's going to be like a drop-in module to make it into a Genesis style atomizer, which again will be a really nice addition. Not a lot else I can really sort of tell you about it. If you fancy trying one out for yourself, go along to www.fluidvapor.com. Thank you very much for watching. Also come along and visit my website at www.e-cigreviews.com. That's e-cig-reviews.com. Cheers guys, happy vaping. See you later.